Well, for the record, this is only obviously pardons a federal crime, so states have at it. All right, guys, well, I want to get this in. So back in December of 2020, as former President Biden was preparing to take office, remember that he expressed concern that Trump might issue a wave of preemptive pardons to family members. Reminder.
Well, it concerns me in terms of what kind of precedent it sets and how the rest of the world looks at us as a nation of laws and justice. Look, our Justice Department is going to operate independently on those issues that how to respond to any of that. I'm not going to be telling them what they have to do and don't have to do. It's not my Justice Department. It's the people's Justice Department. In terms of the pardons, you're not going to see in our administration that kind of approach to pardons.
Yeah, of course we're not, Joe. Wow, what a hypocrite you've turned out to be. Folks, you had many places to be tonight. You chose to be here with me, and for that, I am forever grateful. Thank you very, very much. It is a great week to be an American. It's a great week to be a patriot. It's a great week to see our country being taken back from heading into the bowels and the depths of hell, which is where Biden and Harris were taking us drastically. And so easy how people forget, especially the Democrats and the far left and the mainstream media, about all the things that the Democrat members of Congress and the Senate and Joe Biden himself, CNN and MSNBC said about pardons and how it's okay now that Joe did it. You see, before Trump took the oath of office and was able to pardon those that participated in J6, before he did that, Joe Biden pardoned everyone that was on the J6 Select Committee, members of Congress, gave them a preemptive pardon. What for, Joe? Why would you give the members of the J6 committee in the House a preemptive pardon for any criminal activity they may have conducted from the time they started that investigation to the time they ended that investigation, if you didn't think that that was all a setup and they were all guilty as hell of destroying people for the sole purpose of protesting? And then you made up all kinds of lies, and so did those on the left, about the J6 people. Well, we're going to dive a little bit into that tonight. And what did and didn't actually happen. But first, in the past 30 days before leaving office, and after saying that Trump would be a horrible person if he was to pardon anyone, especially members of his own family, Biden pardons his son, Hunter Biden, for those offenses against the United States which he has committed or may have committed or taken part in during the period of January 1st, 2014. Strange date right there. What the hell did he start doing then, folks? Through December 1st, 2024, including but not limited to offenses, charged or prosecutions, including any that have resulted in convictions by Special Counsel David Weiss. Biden issued pardons to several close family members in the final minutes of his presidency with the following statement: My family has been subject to unrelentless attacks and threats, motivated solely by desire to hurt me, the worst kind of partisan politics. Unfortunately, I have no reason to believe these attacks will end. Kind of like what y'all did to Donald Trump? Is that what you're telling us? That is why I'm exercising my power under the Constitution to pardon James Biden. The hell did he do? Sarah Jones Biden, Valerie Biden Owens, John T. Owens, and Francis W. Biden. That's interesting. The assurances of these pardons should not be mistaken as an acknowledgement that they engaged in any wrongdoing, nor should acceptance be misconstrued as an admission of guilt for any offense. You see, this would be Joe's family members that were involved, along with Hunter, and along with him, for that matter, with China and Ukraine. And if that wasn't bad enough, he also issued pardons to Dr. Anthony Fauci, going all the way back to when he first started gain of function. He pardoned General Mark Milley. Yep, General Mark Milley, for the horrible Afghanistan withdrawal. And of course, all members who served on the House J6 committee. And let's not forget that he also removed from death row and gave them just life sentences cop killers, murderers, rapists, and child molesters. But the DC Democrats, CNN, and MSNBC are saying nothing about those pardons, but raising holy hell about Donald Trump pardoning J6 individuals. You see, that old saying that the Democrats love to throw at us, no one is above the law. You know, when I hear that, it makes me want to just reach out and grab them by the throat for saying such blatant lies. What they meant to say is Republicans are the only ones that should ever be brought up on crimes. But Democrats are above the law and can get away with whatever they want, such as the whole Russia collusion hoax bullshit and what the House did on that. And finding out that Hillary Clinton was behind it all. And her campaign paid for the Steele dossier that was all fake. The crimes that were committed are just beyond anything we've ever witnessed in this country, and probably worse than anything we'll ever witness in our lifetime. At least I hope they don't get worse. But what a bunch of fucking hypocrites. That's your Democrat Party. The party that I was once a proud member of. Now I'm ashamed that I ever, well, in my defense, I didn't know any better growing up. I just voted Democrat because that's what my family did. But when I became an adult, I should have did my homework. Wasn't until later in life, after going into the military, that I did my homework and realized the party I was following were a bunch of hypocrites and a bunch of bigots and a bunch of racists. President Trump began his pledge to give America a MAGA makeover yesterday, taking a slew of executive actions to walk back Biden-era policies and fulfill bold campaign promises. The big picture, Trump's executive power will dramatically change life for the better for millions of Americans. Americans will be put forward first over illegal immigrants or criminals. Trump declared an emergency at the U.S.-Mexican border. He said he will deploy not only National Guard troops and put them on federal active duty status, but also active duty military service members. Why? Because he labeled the cartel a terrorist organization, which now gives Border Patrol and all law enforcement on the border, as well as our military, direct action to take them out on the battlefield. And the battlefield is that border in the Rio Grande. He also instructed the Secretaries of Defense and Homeland Security to construct additional border barriers. Trump designated certain international cartels and organizations such as Tren Diego and MS-13 as foreign terrorist organizations and announced plans to invoke the Alien Enemies Act of 1798 to target them. Something that I have been calling for a long, long time. Trump suspended U.S. refugee admissions program resettlements until such time as further entry into the United States or refugees align with the interests of the United States. Homeland Security will report back within 90 days whether resuming refugee entries would be in the interest of America. Well, I can give you the answer to that. It's no. Nearly 1,660 Afghans cleared by the U.S. to resettle in this country, including family of active duty U.S. service member personnel, had their flights canceled following Trump's orders, Reuters reported. Trump also ordered Homeland Security to terminate all category of parole programs that are contrary to the policy of the United States established by the executive orders, including those of refugees fleeing Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, Venezuela. Trump reinstated the Remain in Mexico policy, ending a program that released asylum seekers into the U.S. while their cases were considered. The U.S. Customs and Border Protection website said Monday that appointments made through the CBP One app at certain border crossings have now been canceled. Hours later, Trump nixed the program completely. Trump empowered officials to repel, repatriate, or remove any alien engaged in the invasion of our southern border. One of the boldest moves was an attempt to end birthright citizenship for those born to undocumented immigrants. Birthright citizenship is protected by U.S. Constitution, and of course, the order is already going to face legal challenges. Trump ordered agencies, starting 30 days after the order, not to recognize any child as an American citizen just because their mother was here illegally and gave birth to them. That also applies to children born to mothers who were lawful temporary residents and fathers who were not citizens or lawful permanent residents. Trump declared a national energy emergency, ordering expedited, deregulated drilling as he's repeatedly vowed to drill, baby, drill. One order specifically targets energy production in Alaska, rescinding former President Biden's protections around the state's coastal areas. In a separate memorandum, Trump paused offshore wind leasing in federal waters. The heads of all relevant agencies shall not issue new or renewed approvals, right-of-ways, permits, leases, or loans for offshore wind projects pending a review of federal wind leasings per the order. Trump pulled us out of the Paris Climate Treaty. Trump had pulled out of the pact during his first term, but Biden rejoined the deal in a day one order when he took office. Trump also took aim at the Biden administration's federal procurement targets for cleaner power, electric vehicles, and other energy goals. Trump directed the Energy Secretary to restart application reviews for liquefied natural gas export projects, which were paused by Biden over climate change concerns. Trump also revoked a 2021 Biden executive order that set a goal of 50% of U.S. vehicle sales to be electric by 2030. Trump established Monday that it is the policy of the United States to recognize that there are only two sexes on planet Earth, male and female. These sexes are not changeable and are grounded in fundamental controversial reality. His executive order read, transgender Americans were a central target of Trump's often hyperbolic and outright false campaign trail messaging, according to Democrats. Also rescinded a Biden administration provision that allowed transgender people to serve in the military. Trump did not immediately ban trans people from being in the military that are currently serving, as he did under his first administration, but he paved the way to revive the ban. Trump, as part of his crusade against what the GOP decries as woke culture, ordered the dismantling of government diversity, equity, and exclusion initiatives within 60 days. It eliminates policies that establish several diversity initiatives, including one that widens sex discrimination prosecutions to include sexual orientation and gender identity. Trump signed several other provisions that will impact government workers. He requires a full-time return to in-office work for federal employees in order to hiring freeze on all government positions. Hiring freeze does not apply to the military or immigration enforcement, national security, or public safety. So, if you're unaware of this, during the COVID pandemic, Joe Biden allowed all these federal workers to stay at home if they had a computer and could log on and do their work at home. And that's where they've been. And then he extended it recently, like just 2 months ago, to allow them to continue to work for another couple of years at home. No, that just ended. Either come back to work or you're fired. He also reinstated his first term Schedule F executive order, which can make it easier to fire civil servants deemed disloyal. The order could strip employment protections from thousands of federal employees. Employees are not required to personally or politically support the current president, but they must faithfully implement administration policies to the best of their ability, the order said. And the first one that doesn't, you're fired. Trump pardoned the vast majority of January 6 defendants charged with participating in what they called the Capitol riot and commuted the sentences of 14 others. Among those were leaders of the extremist group, Proud Boys, and the Oath Keepers. These are the hostages, approximately 1,500 for a pardon, full pardon, Trump said from his Oval Office on his first night as president last night. Pardoning rioters was a prominent campaign pledge, but he has not pardoned those that injured police officers, at least not yet. Now, let me add that I would like to see Donald Trump next have his Department of Justice investigate the death of military veteran Ashley Babbitt. She was the only person who was killed on January 6th, even though liberals, Democrats, and the mainstream media outlets like CNN and MSNBC want you to believe that police officers were killed by MAGA protesters. And that is an outright lie. The only death was unarmed female military veteran Ashley Babbitt. She was shot and killed by Capitol Police Officer Lieutenant Michael Byrd, who had been on the job for 28 years. He knew better. He fired one shot, hitting and killing Ashley Babbitt. This should be treated as a murder investigation, in my opinion, as a veteran law enforcement officer. Trump also signed an order pulling the U.S. from the World Health Organization, a process he started during his first term. Monday's order said that the U.S. will withdraw due to the organization's mishandling of the COVID-19 pandemic and other global health crises, its failure to adopt urgent needed reforms, and its inability to demonstrate independence from the inappropriate political influence of World Health Organization member states. Trump signed a number of other executive orders and actions, those including ensuring government agencies do not unconstitutionally abridge the free speech of any American citizen, highlighting what Trump and his allies considered censorship under Biden. He ordered a review of trade practices and agreements. He revoked the security clearances of his former national security advisor, John Bolton, and former intelligence officials who signed a letter discrediting the Hunter Biden laptop story. He formally established the Department of Government Efficiency and suspended the TikTok ban for 75 days. That's the only thing so far that I'm against that he's done. The hell with TikTok. They're spying on Americans. They answer to the Chinese Communist Party. We should be done with them. He also declared that federal buildings should respect regional, traditional, and classical architectural heritage to beautify public spaces in all the United States. One of my favorite members of Congress, congressional terrorist sympathizer and anti-American bigot, Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, called out the hypocrisy of her fellow Democrats, politicians, and Hollywood and big executives for attending the inaugural festivities for President-elect Trump after having previously decried the Republican figure as a threat to democracy. People are more upset at performers, artists attending Trump's inaugural events, but not upset at all the politicians who told them he was a threat to democracy. Going to these events are not serious, the progressive Congresswoman declared in a post on X, formerly Twitter. Performers at least know they're there to perform and get paid. But these politicians who ran their mouth for 4 years and are now willing to be there and clap for them, that's who they should all be mad at. They lied to you, and their criticism, anger should be rightfully directed at them, she continued. Omar suggested performers should not be expected to have loyalty to a political party. Also, no one asks people who are performers or artists to be loyal to a party because that's what dictatorships do. In a free country like ours, people should be able to support any party they want without having their livelihoods compromised, the lawmaker concluded. Fox News Digital emailed Trump-Vance transition team and Trump-Vance inaugural committee on Monday to ask whether any of the performers at the inauguration ceremony or related celebrations were actually being paid as she said they were, like, the DNC and Kamala Harris did to all those that performed at her rallies. like Oprah Winfrey getting paid $1 million freaking dollars? Yeah. Committee spokesman replied, stating that the committee did not pay for any performances. President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris have both previously described Trump as a threat to our democracy, but are expected to attend Trump's inauguration ceremony. And they did. Omar herself has previously described Trump as an existential threat to our democracy. Ilhan Omar, there was never a threat to our democracy by Donald J. Trump. That was all a damn lie. And you know that. But there is a threat to our democracy by people like yourself who support terrorist organizations like Hamas and Iran and are against American policies, foreign policies, especially, and Israel. And it's a threat when people like you and the squad support college students protesting against Israel and supporting Hamas and Iran. You're on record with hate-filled speech against our military veterans, our law enforcement officers, and anyone who supported Donald J. Trump. So the threat to our democracy, madam, if I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 damn times, are you. You should not be there. In fact, you're the most ungrateful refugee bitch that ever came to America. And you and your family should be deported out of this country. At a minimum, Congress needs to eject you completely out of Congress. They have that ability, and that needs to happen. And I, for one, will be pushing this constantly with Congress to do just that. Ilhan Omar, Rashid Tlaib need to go away once and for all. They do not belong anywhere near our government. President Trump is taking on defiant sanctuary cities as he seeks to fulfill a vital campaign pledge to mass deport illegal immigrants, while blue city leaders dig in their heels, resisting any form of assistance to federal authorities that could lead to migrant removal. Tom Homan, Trump's designated border czar, has promised to unveil a series of game-changing executive orders that have prompted sanctuary cities to cement their status as safe havens for migrants. The cities from Chicago to San Diego have doubled down on reaffirming local ordinances to prohibit local law enforcement from assisting federal authorities in immigration removal operations. President Trump put illegal immigration front and center in his inaugural address yesterday, promising all illegal entry will immediately be halted, and we will begin the process of returning millions and millions of criminal aliens back to the place in which they came from. Los Angeles, in November, following Trump's election win, formalized policies prohibiting city resources from being used to support federal deportation efforts and further solidify its stance as a sanctuary city. San Diego's Board of Supervisors passed a similar policy that prohibits county agencies from working with federal immigration authorities. California's history as a shelter for migrants was cemented in 2017 after former Governor Jerry Brown signed legislation making California a sanctuary state. During Trump's first term, he cut off hundreds of millions of dollars in law enforcement grants to sanctuary cities. The Biden administration restored the grants in 2021. San Diego County Supervisor Jim Desmond, a vocal critic of the state's immigration policies, said he hopes to see America return to the rule of law. I will fight to secure our border and oppose any handouts or incentives that encourage illegal immigration, he said. We must put Americans first and uphold the integrity of our nation. I could not agree more. Denver Mayor Mike Johnson made headlines after saying he would go to jail over his opposition to Trump's mass deportation plan, sharing that he predicted a Tiananmen Square moment if federal immigration officials attempt to do their job. More than us having DPD stations at the county line to keep them out, you would have 50,000 there, Johnson said in an interview. It's like the Tiananmen Square movement with the rose and the gun, right? You have every one of those Highland moms who came out for the migrants. But in a substantial interview with 9 News, he walked back those comments. Would have taken it back if I could. Yes, I probably wouldn't have used some of those direct words. What I was trying to say is that is an outcome I hope that we can avoid in this country. I think none of us want that. But he said he was prepared to protest against anything he believes is illegal, immoral, or un-American in the city, including the use of military force, and was then asked if he was prepared to go to jail for standing in the way of policies enacted by the administration. And his answer was yes. I'm not afraid of that. I'm also not seeking that, Johnson said. I think the goal is we want to be able to negotiate with reasonable people how to solve a hard problem. Well, let me make it pretty damn simple and clear for you, sir. You said, and I quote, I'm prepared to protest against anything that I believe is illegal or immoral. Well, it's illegal to be in this country illegally, dumbass. Denver has seen an unprecedented influx of migrants arriving in the city under former President Biden's administration, and Johnson has slashed city services, houses that feed migrants. On Sunday, Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson rang loud and clear when he vowed to oppose Trump's plan. Chicago stands strong, regardless of the circumstances. Our commitment to protecting and supporting the city remains unwavering, Johnson wrote in a social media post on Sunday. We'll continue to fight for the justice and safety for all who call this place home. Johnson's statement came after he assured the city would continue to comply with the 2017 Illinois Trust Act, which prohibits law enforcement from participating in federal immigration enforcement. Now, let me just remind you of something, sir. In America, federal law trumps local law, state law, city law, county law. Completely. Overrules it. So you, sir, are the one who's committing a crime along with those people that you're harboring. Boston Mayor Michelle Wu reinstated Boston's statue as a sanctuary city following Trump's election, saying that she doesn't want migrants to retreat into the shadows. The last thing we want is for people who are part of our economic, part of our school system, part of our community, and the fabric of our city to feel that all of a sudden they have to retreat into the shadows, she said during an interview on WCB's On the Record. Like many sanctuary cities, Boston passed legislation prohibiting local law enforcement from asking people about their immigration status or sharing information with federal ICE officers. The Boston Trust Act was signed into law in 2014 under Mayor Marty Welsh, and amendments were made back in 2019. The Boston Trust Act puts strict prohibits on law enforcement officials from being pulled into becoming the enforcement arm for the whims of whatever the sort of approach of the federal immigration law might be, Wu said during an interview with WGBH. Massachusetts Governor Merle Haley has echoed the Boston mayor's sentiment, saying that Massachusetts State Police would absolutely not assist in immigration enforcement. Well, if that's the case, then they need to be removed from law enforcement because they know that federal law trumps state, local, city, and county law. The Wall Street Journal reported Friday night that Trump's team is planning an immigration raid in Chicago to begin this morning, although that information got leaked out, so they stopped that raid in fear of possibly getting officers injured. Between 100 and 200 officers will be there to carry out the operation when it does go into effect, probably next week. Trump's incoming border czar Tom Hoffman promised large-scale raids as part of Trump's crackdown on immigration, and it's going on as I speak. We're going to take the handcuffs off of ICE and let them go arrest criminal aliens. That's what we're going to do. That is going to happen, Hoffman said in an interview today. What we're telling ICE, you're going to go enforce the immigration law without apology. You're going to concentrate on the worst first, the criminals, public safety threats. But no one is off the table if they're here illegally. If they're in the country illegally, they've got a problem. They're going to be big raids all across this country, Hoffman continued. Chicago is just one of many places. If we got 24 field offices across the country on Tuesday, you can expect ICE. Where there are key sanctuary cities that are intent on disrupting Trump's policy plan, there are pockets of cities and states intent on assisting Trump. In Colorado, Douglas County Board of Commissioners approved a resolution in support of Trump's mass deportation plan. Unanimous vote confirmed the county, which is neighboring sanctuary city to Denver, is a non-sanctuary county. We're going to follow and adhere to federal immigration law, Douglas County Chairperson Abe Lendon said in an interview. We will continue to support the U.S. Constitution and follow federal immigration law. We want to empower our local law enforcement, our sheriff's office, and community with federal immigration officials to get information and keep people safe in our community. The three of us, as the Board of County Commissioners, are going to hold the line in Douglas County and ensure that our community stays safe. In the border state of Texas, Land Commissioner Don Buckingham offered the administration a tract to more than 1,400 acres to stage in mass deportation operations. Her letter to Trump, obtained by Fox News Digital, says her office is fully prepared to enter into an agreement with the Department of Homeland Security, Immigrations and Customs Enforcement, ICE, and the United States Border Patrol to allow a facility to be built for the processing, detention, and coordination of the largest deportation of violent criminals in our nation's history. You've heard me say it many times, and I will say it again here tonight, that it is against federal law, or it is against the law. It's a federal law that it's a criminal act, a federal felony criminal act to harbor illegal immigrants. So, every mayor, well, let me back up. Let me start with the top. Every governor, every mayor, every police chief appointed by these mayors, every city council member in these sanctuary cities that plan to defy the federal government's laws that are on the books. These aren't new laws. We're just enforcing the old laws. Everyone that stands in the way need to be arrested. for harboring illegal immigrants. That's how you fix these sanctuary city problems. You start with any of them. I don't care. Pick California. Pick Illinois. Doesn't matter. When you go in there and you start arresting these motherfuckers and charging them with federal crimes of harboring illegal immigrants, watch what happens down the road before you ever get to the next state. Those sanctuary city policies will be thrown away and they will be claiming they're not a sanctuary city anymore. Tom Hoffman, that's what needs to happen. You know that needs to happen. And so does Donald Trump. You arrest these no good son of a bitches, and then the problem is solved. President Donald Trump said yesterday he will reinstate all military members who were dismissed for refusing to comply with orders to receive the COVID-19 vaccination during the pandemic. This week, I'll reinstate any service members who were unjustly expelled from our military for objecting the COVID vaccine mandate with full back pay. Trump said inside the Capitol Rotunda during a swearing-in ceremony yesterday. Around 8,400 troops were expelled from the military after refusing orders and declining the vaccine, according to military data, with Marines making up about 3,700 of the dismissals. Thousands of others got medical or religious exemptions from the vaccine mandate. Trump's comments echo those made by the Defense Secretary nominee Pete Hegseth during his confirmation hearing last week, who said the members would be apologized to and reinstituted with pay and rank. And I will sign in order to stop our warriors from being subject to radical political theories and social experiments while on duty, Trump said yesterday. It's going to end immediately. Our armed forces will be free to focus on their sole mission, defeating America's enemies. COVID-19 vaccine mandate for U.S. military members lasted only from August of 2021 to January of 2023, when it was overturned by the Supreme Court. And you know, I follow a lot of veteran groups on social media, LinkedIn and on Twitter, X, Facebook. And there is a percentage of liberal Democrat veterans that believe that anybody that disobeyed that order should have been court-martialed. They should have went to prison for not obeying a lawful order. And a lot of them threw up what we were exposed to during the first Gulf War, Desert Storm, where they gave us an anthrax shot. And you couldn't refuse it. If you refused the shot, well, you got court-martialed. And they want to bring that back. They think that's what should have happened to these people as well as being kicked out. And they tried to say that, look, that's just how it works. But they failed to know the truth behind that anthrax vaccination that we received. It's no different than what this COVID vaccination was. It was an experimental project that they thought troops would be better off receiving it, even though the FDA said do not mass inoculate these people with it. Then they're trying to say that, anthrax vaccination has been around forever, so why were we so afraid to take it? Well, they're missing the whole point. Yes, anthrax vaccination has been around for years. People in meat handling cattle production, things like that, they get that shot. But that's a different anthrax compared to the weaponized anthrax that Iraq had and was possibly going to use against Gulf War troops. The anthrax that's used as a bioweapon is not the same anthrax that these meat handlers get a vaccine for. There was no vaccine prior to the Gulf War for anthrax, the bioweapon type. So they rushed into production a vaccine to protect us from if we were subject to anthrax in a chemical weapon. And turned out that it had never been used on a human body before until the military made it mandatory that everybody over there, and they waited till we got over there, was forced to take it. Even though the FDA said, do not do mass inoculation. We haven't tested this. We haven't even got out of the animal phase testing yet. Same thing with the COVID vaccine. It was rushed into production. It didn't go through the years of studies and tests to make sure it's safe. And what did we find out from the anthrax vaccine that they rushed into production and inoculated all these veterans with, myself included? That it was harmful and that veterans were dying and getting sick and ill because of the vaccine. And then they did away with it. And it was no longer to be used. Well, I'll be damned if that ain't the same shit that happened with the COVID vaccine. There's manufacturers of the COVID vaccine that we know for a fact now were killing people and injuring people and giving them heart problems. That's fact, okay? And our government came along and said, no, you can't give this vaccine anymore, this particular brand, because it's killing people and injuring people. But sadly, these Democrat, liberal veterans can't think outside the box. They're just stuck on stupid, uneducated about factual information. So it's very disheartening as a veteran that's received a lot of these vaccines, like what we had in Desert Storm. And there were other things that we were exposed to and given too that had never been tested on a human body before. Like what's called a DET pill. It was a pill that you take. We had to take a series of like 3 of them over 3 days. That would help with your atropine injector in the event that you had to inject it because you were exposed to nerve agent to help speed up the process of the nerve agent going through your body. Never tested on a human body before. Give it to the veterans. Give it to the military. Force it down their throats. And then you've had thousands and thousands of Gulf War veterans that got injured physically, mentally from these experiments, and even death. Thanks to Biden-Harris open borders, another U.S. Border Patrol agent is dead. He was shot and killed by an illegal immigrant during a traffic stop yesterday as Donald Trump was being sworn in. In a post on X, formerly Twitter, News Nation reporter Ali Bradley said sources indicate a Border Patrol agent was fatally shot and killed Monday by an illegal immigrant during that traffic stop. A Border Patrol agent is dead after being shot in the neck by an illegal immigrant who was here and overstayed his visa. Sources say the agent was conducting a traffic stop when he was shot. Bradley reported that the shooter was also found dead after the shooting and that an unidentified woman was injured in the altercation as well. News Nation reporter added that the woman's condition was not known as of yesterday evening. An update shared today on social media, Bradley said sources identified the deceased Border Patrol agent as 44-year-old David Malin. The Department of Homeland Security confirmed that the Border Patrol agent had been shot and killed at approximately 3:15 p.m. yesterday during his traffic stop of this illegal alien. Following the fatal shooting incident, Acting Secretary of Homeland Security Benjamin Hoffman issued a statement saying, "Today, January 20th, a Border Patrol agent assigned to the U.S. Border Patrol Swanton section was fatally shot in the line of duty. Every single day, our Border Patrol agents put themselves in harm's way so that Americans in our homeland are safe and secure." Hoffman added, "My prayers and deepest condolences are with our department, the agent's family, loved ones, and colleagues." The acting secretary of the Department of Homeland Security noted that Monday's incident was being swiftly investigated and that the department would provide additional information regarding the fatal shooting when more information is available. A spokesperson for the Federal Bureau of Investigation, aka FBI, confirmed that the Border Patrol agent had been killed by an illegal alien yesterday, while a third individual was injured and one was being held in custody by law enforcement officials. I guess it was the person that was in the vehicle with them. FBI personnel will be working with our partners from U.S. Border Patrol to gather evidence and process the scene, the FBI spokesperson said. So once again, another Border Patrol agent is dead because of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and their policies of destroying our country. I am, for one, as a veteran law enforcement officer as well as a combat veteran of the U.S. military, very, very happy, joyful, blessed that the past 4 years, this nightmare that we've lived under, is over, or at least for the time being. There is nothing worse, and you can ask this to any veteran law enforcement officer or military veteran, nothing worse than someone who, on purpose, goes out of their way to do things that are harmful to Americans. And in this case, by allowing what's happened on our borders, by the worst of the worst coming over here, gang members, sex trafficking of women and children, murderers, rapists, child molesters, drug traffickers, cartel. The list goes on and on and on. And there needs to be people held accountable for that. And hopefully now, under this new administration, we will see those type of things get rounded up. And those people that Biden didn't pardon, that were part of this process, like, I don't know, Alejandro Marcus, who was the Homeland Security Director, that son of a bitch needs to be under an immediate Department of Justice investigation. And it needs to be hung out dry. He needs to have a full investigation into his illegal conduct and his outright disdain for our Constitution. There's no place in this country for that type of bullshit anymore. And as we move forward, it is up to us, we the people, to make sure that the Republicans now in charge follow up on all the promises they made, and we encourage them to do more. and to do the right thing by we the people, and do the right thing by all those that lost their lives in the withdrawal from Afghanistan. And, for instance, Joe Biden didn't pardon himself, so go after him for treason, because leaving billions of dollars of military equipment to fall into the hands of the terrorist is aiding and abetting the enemy. And that's treason. I get it. He's an old, feeble man who, supposedly couldn't stand trial for taking the same documents that we're trying to hang Trump for. But yet you allowed him to finish out his term? So which is it? If he was allowed to finish out his term, that means he is competent to stand trial. Then go after that son of a bitch. I want to see him prosecuted. Anyhow, it's cold down here in Louisiana, folks. We never get snow. We sure as hell don't get a snowstorm. No, we get mosquitoes and heat. Hell, in a typical year, in a winter, we're lucky if we see 5 days that are around 32 degrees. And I'll be damned if we didn't have a snowstorm move through here yesterday and into today. All day long, it's been snowing. I posted some of the pictures up in my community section. I posted them up on my Facebook page as well. You can go check it out there and see that. I mean, it's like a freak thing. You know, it's a global warming thing, because global warming is just right on up there. It's a threat to our nation, to the world. Bullshit. It's freaking cold down here, and it's going to get even colder tonight. I think it's going down to 15 degrees here in Louisiana. And we got 7 inches of snow outside the house right now. It's beautiful. I took some great pictures of it. I hope you like them. Like I said, they're in the community section. They're also over my Facebook profile. Go check it out. If you're not used to snow, you'll like it. Hell, this snow that we just had is now passed into Mississippi, Alabama, Florida. Pensacola, Florida is under a snowstorm right now. Global warming, my ass. Oh, kills me. Anyhow, that many places to be tonight. You chose to be here with me, and for that, I'm forever grateful. Thank you very, very much. I'll be back tomorrow night with me and my wife. We'll do our normal Wednesday night segment. And then, of course, on Thursday as well for another live version of the Douglas Ducote Show. Hope you will join us wherever you're watching me tonight, whether it's on the YouTube channel or Rumble channel or X, formerly Twitter, or LinkedIn. Please subscribe to the channel. Share it with your family and friends. Let them know that if they have little ones in the room, that Mr. Doug sometimes says a bad word or two, so they might want to watch out for that. But other than that, thank you for supporting us. Thank you for being here tonight. And may God bless each and every one of you, and may God bless the United States of America. Tune in tomorrow night right here for me and my wife, as we will discuss things that are not politically related. Take care, everyone, and I will see you tomorrow.